Between the pages today, we continue to roll back the tapes and zoom in on tourism performance last year. Plus, a few important reminders about earthquakes. I'm Carrie-Ann Smith and this is Jamaica Magazine, your stop for the important details on government affairs. There's much in store for you inside these covers. Stay with us.
Jamaica ahead again. This is our responsibility and we pledge to continue doing this. Time is not on our side. The industry is now fast moving.
The Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries worked tirelessly in 2018 to ensure continued growth of the sector. Join us on January 16, 2019 as we take a look back at the eventful year they had. MyCAF, building resilience, securing our future.
Good day, I'm Lorraine Mendez and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, January 15. Government is reaffirming that its decision to retake ownership of Venezuela's 49% stake in Petrojam through legal action is a move to safeguard Jamaica's energy security and follows numerous diplomatic interventions. The assertion comes from Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade Minister Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith. She told reporters on Monday that the decision was not made without recognition and appreciation of Jamaica's long relationship with Venezuela, and more specifically, the Petro-Carib arrangement. Through this energy cooperation agreement, Venezuela provides Jamaica and other Caribbean and Latin American countries with petroleum and petroleum products under a preferential payment arrangement. Minister Johnson-Smith says Jamaica is cognizant and appreciative of this, and made several offers of incentives to the Venezuelan government in the hopes of them selling the shares, but there has been no take-up.
A fair market value was established. We did not just offer fair market value, we offered 3 times that at the first instance and at the second instance. We then increased it further in November.
The minister says the need to move forward through legislative action was prompted by several factors, including international regulations that take effect on January 1, 2020, which will make Petrojam unable to sell heavy fuel oil and process it as it now does. She says other considerations include the need to move forward with upgrading Petrojam, as well as banking and operational risks caused by the domestic and hemispheric issues and challenges facing Venezuela.
Accordingly, it is important and in the interest of the Jamaican people that the government of Jamaica takes decisive and clear action.
The Venezuelan government holds 49% shares in Petrojam through PDV Carib, an affiliate of its state oil refinery PDVSA. In other news, the construction of JAMALCO's $189 million gas-fired congestion power plant is on track for completion by February 2020. Managing Director of JAMALCO Austin Mooney made the disclosure while on a recent tour of the company's refinery and mines. The new power plant will supply 90 to 100 megawatts of energy into the national grid and provide JAMALCO with 40% of its energy demand.
Construction of the gas pipeline has started. They have started to ship the gas pipe from the US. We expect it to be here very, very soon. The contractor will start mobilizing towards the end of January into early February. We expect that the construction will be complete probably sometime around in June. It's worth noting that the offshore part of the gas pipeline is already complete.
The new power plant is being constructed by US-based company New Fortress Energy. The Ministry of Tourism will be implementing enhanced security measures in St. James to ensure visitors are protected when the state of public emergency in that parish ends on January 31. The state of public emergency was declared in St. James on January 18, 2018. The Western Parish, in particular its capital Montego Bay, is considered to be the country's tourism center. It pulls more than 1 million visitors per year, including through numerous cruise ships that dock at its ports. To protect that and residents, Minister Edmund Bartlett says the Tourism and National Security Ministries will continue collaboration on measures to reduce crime.
We want to ensure that the measures that we'll be succeeding in will be effective, and we are excited about the prospects of growing tourism in order to help to reduce the incidence of crime and violence in our country.
Minister Bartlett made the statements recently in an interview with JIS News. By September 2019, a coffee training institute to certify regulatory cup testers will be established by the Jamaica Agricultural Commodities Regulatory Authority, JACRA. The regulatory cup testers are to lead the way as certified trainers for coffee industry stakeholders, including shop personnel and coffee makers in hotels and restaurants. This was among several initiatives announced by Minister Darrell Vaz, who was speaking on behalf of Agriculture Minister Audley Shaw at the recent launch of Blue Mountain Coffee Day.
To date, 6 staff members have been trained as trainers, with further training set for the first quarter of the next financial year to have them fully certified. We expect to have the institute, which will be housed at JACRA, fully operational by September 2019.
The minister has also revealed that by mid-March, coffee farmers in the Irishtown, Middleton and Woodford areas will receive 50,000 coffee seedlings and other supply inputs. These will be provided under the Grassroots and Human Security Project being funded by the Japanese government to the tune of $90,400. And finally, the Ministry of Education is finalizing the development of a national school nutrition policy, which was initially slated for completion this month.
This National School Nutrition Policy is to promote healthy eating and physically active lifestyle in schools, to improve the nutritional status of children and support their long-term physical and psychosocial development. We're hoping we'll have had the policy ready for January, but we still have some fine-tuning, but we decided to roll out the restriction of sugary drinks before.
The minister was speaking on Friday at a forum on sugars, other carbohydrates and fats, their contribution to obesity and effective solutions. He said the policy to outline the recommended nutrient standards for meals and beverages would eventually be incorporated into the existing national school feeding program. And that's it for JIS News today. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thanks for watching.
Digit dialing now in effect. JUTC buses now equipped with Wi-Fi technology, and the 2015 Cybercrimes Act is being reviewed. These stories and more coming out of the Ministry of Science and Technology this past year. Join us on January 17, 2019 as we take an in-depth look at the year in review.
Coming up, the ministerial happenings of the chief servant during the past week.
Prime Minister pledges to intensify Plan Secure Jamaica, opens new business process outsourcing complex out west, and
it is better to be employed than to be out there doing nothing, becoming candidates for all kinds of nefarious activities.
You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Anthony Morgan.
The government is well advanced in executing Plan Secure Jamaica, which will see the reduction of murders to below the regional average of 16 per 100,000, which would mean having a total number of murders under 500. And we are committed to having this within the next decade.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness gave that pledge during last Tuesday's sitting of the House of Representatives. He said that the state would continue to use all the resources at its disposal to drive down crime, even as the states of public emergency in several communities have or will expire. According to Mr. Holness, the states of public emergency, zones of special operations and other crime-fighting measures resulted in 21.9% fewer murders and 22.3% fewer shootings in 2018 when compared to 2017. In hotspot areas such as St. Catherine North and St. James, murders and shootings were significantly reduced in 2018 when compared to the year before. The Prime Minister has committed his administration to working with the parliamentary opposition and other stakeholders to ensure there is national unity in the fight against crime. A meeting was held on January 2 with the leader of the opposition, and follow-up talks continued on January 7 with state and opposition teams. From those talks, a joint communique was released, where it was agreed that the respective legal teams would meet to look at new and existing crime-fighting legislation.
It was agreed that there will be further meetings, beginning with a meeting with other stakeholders, including the private sector, the churches, human rights and civil society groups. And this meeting will be convened on Wednesday, January 16, 2019, to advance national consensus.
During a question and answer session in Parliament Tuesday, the Prime Minister reiterated that the total budget for the implementation of the National Identification System NIDS was $68 million. He said only 20% of that IDB loan would be used for the NIDS solution software, which is required to deliver identity management services. Mr. Holness said the majority of the funds would be used for the broader modernization and digitization of government, as well as improvement of the ICT infrastructure. That includes the $9.9 million for the establishment of the National Identification Authority and $3.5 million for the digitization of paper-based records at the Registrar General's Department. $72,000 will go towards mobile stations for bedside registration, $4.3 million for the building of 43 enrollment sites, and $8 million for the establishment of a card production facility. Prime Minister Holness added that the Public Relations, Communications and Behavioral Change Program for NIDS would cost $2.4 million over a 5-year period.
The total funds expended for the publication of radio, TV, and print advertising from June to December 11, 2018 is US $42,614.42. Note also that the IDB, through the South Korean Government Poverty Reduction Fund, provided technical assistance during the development of the NIDS PR and marketing plan.
Still in Parliament Tuesday, Mr. Holness said he would be examining a draft review of the October 23 and November 12 flooding of the Marcus Garvey and Mandela Highway roads. He said the preliminary figures indicated by the National Works Agency revealed that drains on Marcus Garvey Drive were under capacity for the volume of water, while heavy rainfall, compounded by roadworks, blocked drains on the Mandela Highway. The Prime Minister said the National Works Agency was contemplating a program to increase its investments in drainage, which would include the construction of newer and larger drains.
We have done an all-island drainage study. They are about to contract a consultant to undertake a study of this area as to exactly what we would need for drains. And in the new program to come, not only will they call this government the roadwork government, but they will call us the gully work government as well.
On Wednesday, the Prime Minister was in Montego Bay to open the latest business process outsourcing building constructed by the Port Authority of Jamaica. The building brings to 10,600 the number of BPO workers employed at the Montego Bay Free Zone and over 36,000 across the island.
So I'm giving a charge now to the BPO industry and to Heart NTA that we cannot remain at the level at which we are in the industry. As I've said, the industry will not go away, it will not die, but it will transform. And if we don't transform, we will lose the industry.
The Prime Minister used the occasion to confirm that the Montego Bay Bypass Road was on track to start next year. He also pledged to continue implementation of security measures to keep St. James residents safe when the state of emergency in the parish expires on January 31.
We will use all measures within the law with respect for human rights and the dignity of the person to ensure that your community remains safe.
Before his assignment in Montego Bay, the Prime Minister took time to pay a surprise visit to Mackay McLaurin's, who wrote a letter inviting him to his school. At Jamaica House Monday, Mr. Holness met with a delegation from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Talks centered on the National Water Commission. And on Thursday, the Prime Minister was updated on plans for the 2019 staging of the National Leadership Prayer Breakfast. And that's how we close out Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more news stories coming out of the Office of the Prime Minister.
So many wish they could visit our shores. We live where they vacation. Brand Jamaica beckons all from the four corners of the earth.
Well, as a Jamaican, I have great pride in selling it. Your pride that you sell Jamaica with is something that it rolls off. Jamaica has so much to offer, and every time I have the privilege of bringing an executive down to Jamaica, an executive from an airline or a tour operator or a travel agency, and you take them across the country, the pride that they said, wow, I can't imagine, especially when it's their first time. Wow, I love this.
Build it. Cherish it. Our wealth is Brand Jamaica.
Next, major achievements in the area of tourism in 2018. Let's revisit.
More equipped and serviced public beaches.
This investment is first for the residents who live here.
Qualified tourism workers.
60% of the value of the visitor's experience in a destination is service.
Just some of the top achievements within the tourism sector for 2018. Resumption of flights from Russia and daily flights out of Panama pushed up tourist arrivals. The country also welcomed weekly flights by German airline Eurowings. The bulk of arrivals, however, came from the regular routes, the United States of America, Canada, and England. When 2018 closed, over 4.3 million persons vacationed in Jamaica in the year. This was a 7% increase over 2017. Additional airline seats negotiated in the period amounted to 99,800 flights. Visitors continued to arrive by sea. Of note, Carnival Cruise Line's Carnival Horizon, the newest and biggest of the company's Vista Luxury Line vessels, made its maiden voyage to Jamaica in October. Nearly 4,000 passengers were on board. The nation's ports also received inaugural calls from the following cruise lines: British liner Morella and Florida-based MS Serena. As such, cruise ship arrivals totaled 1.8 million. This represented a 2.1% increase over 2017.
That is a significant performance for any country, especially one as small as Jamaica.
Gross earnings amounted to more than $3.3 billion, an 8.6% increase in revenue over 2017. The Tourism Linkages Network also facilitated huge sales and benefits for the economy. Christmas in July featured an increase in visitors, so too the Speed networking event. The ministry hosted the inaugural Tourism Resilience Summit of the Americas at the University of the West Indies in September. The one-day event was attended by key sector stakeholders from Jamaica and the wider region and featured discussions on wide-ranging disruptive industry challenges, including climate change and cybercrime. Prior to that, in June, the Tourism Ministry strengthened its disaster resilience with the use of satellite phones. 6 phones purchased by the ministry at a cost of $3 million were handed over to destination managers.
Even if hurricanes are so strong that your cables are all destroyed And even if the ocean currents destroy the underground cables that connect you elsewhere, the satellite is there and you can connect with it and talk.
The Excellence Group Luxury Hotels and Resorts opened the $110 million 315-room Oyster Bay Hotel in Trelawney in October. Close by, the 30-acre Rio Nuevo Village attraction was expanded at a cost of over $2 million. 10 public beaches were earmarked for upgrading under the National Beach Development Program. Marking Stone Beach in St. Mary and License in St. Thomas were officially reopened. By April 2019, the other beaches, such as Boston and Winifred in Portland, will be handed over to residents. In a few months, the Hampden Wharf development will unfold, creating jobs in Trelawney as ground was broken for the project last year.
The process will enable us to get the result that we want for the town as a whole, but most importantly, to build out the capacity to deliver quality products, to ensure that the cultural assets of Falmouth and its neighboring areas are properly showcased, and that the returns from the creativity of the people of this area is of such that it enables prosperity in the long run.
The Jamaica Tourist Board expanded its strategies by using data to drive visitor arrivals. As such, a new digital marketing campaign and a promotional website were launched.
And these videos will now populate our space, our social space. And we'll be able to have connectivity to every corner of the world.
The first cohort of trainees enrolled at the Jamaica Center of Tourism Innovation graduated in April. Created to increase access to certification by secondary and tertiary graduates and industry workers, the center certified another 250 hospitality employees in October. Over 20 employees of the Rio Hotel chain were the first cohort to participate in a 3-hour introduction to Spanish training program conducted by training experts from the Cervantes Institute in Spain. And 650 high school students across the island are now in the first of a 2-year hospitality and tourism management program. To top off the year, Portfolio Minister Edmund Bartlett was awarded the International Institute for Peace through Tourism Champions in Challenge Award in London in November. It honors industry stakeholders who display exceptional leadership in making a difference to the sector through words and actions. Jamaica was also named Best Destination for Adventure Tourism. The Tourism Ministry during 2018 continued growth by expanding the reach of Brand Jamaica.
It's Earthquake Awareness Week, so the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management is spearheading several activities in schools and the workplace. ODPEM has also twinned the awareness of tsunamis with the week's observation. In line with this thrust, we look back at one of Jamaica's most dangerous earthquakes and lessons revealed in its wake.
Air distilled, suspended animation, moment transfixed. 3:30 p.m. Monday, January 14, 1907, etched invariably in history as the instant that Kingston was changed forever.
At 3 o'clock, God is going to speak. And then, of course, at 3:30, about 3:30 the earthquake struck. I saw this building before. Now this is what it looks like. This is what the quake did.
Kingston destroyed by earthquake. Let them know what had happened to their city, what had happened to the capital of Jamaica.
Just 3 days after the great earthquake of 1907 struck downtown Kingston, several news headlines painting desolate pictures of the city were being circulated in the international press.
Horror and gloom increase. Entire streets leveled and crowds of frightened, shrieking people.
The shock lasted nearly 36 seconds. Pillars of smoke rose in Harbour Street, and soon afterwards, flames shot into the sky.
In semi-darkness. 600 bodies recovered, only a few buildings left standing and not one safe.
Photography was essentially in its infancy in Jamaica at the turn of the 20th century. Even though several persons operated photography studios, the art form was not a well-developed genre. Photography was more or less a pastime, a way of creating keepsakes like postcards to send abroad to relatives and friends. Several images of 1907 were relayed to foreigners, utilities downed, scavengers in rubble, Kingstonians dazed at the fate which had befallen their city. Many of the more poignant depictions of Kingston circa January 14, 1907, therefore, remained outside of the city and Jamaica for decades. Today, searches on the largest internet-based marketplace, eBay, yield an image of the 1907 Great Kingston earthquake for sale every day. The event is one of the most reported of its time and ranks highly on the list of the best photographed. Telegraph and postal services were limited by the disaster, and so the foreign media had to improvise when compiling pictures to accompany their breaking headlines. They commissioned artists to create their own impressions of what Kingston looked like in the wake of the earthquake. Jamaica, however, had its own assembly of photographers who captured several post-quake images and amazingly managed to develop and salvage the collection. There were Theophilus Duperley, grandson of the famous Adolphe Duperley, who printed lithographs of the 1831 Christmas Rebellion and the Emancipation celebrations in Kingston in 1836. H.J. Calm, E.E. Grant, better known for his tourism-related photographs, and John Clary. Clary had compiled an album with some 23 images of the destroyed city, and an additional 18 of his post-quake photographs are owned by the National Library. The exhibition's curator, however, votes E.E. Grant's photographs most emotive and interesting.
As we look back, we wanted to offer the exhibition as a kind of visual narrative for people to help make the reference. So it is here for you to see and say, what if this happens again, that kind of thing. How did we respond to it in 1907? And so utilizing that as a starting point, it can start a lot of discussion about many things.
The idea for the exhibition developed over a year ago, but photographs of the disaster were being collected long before. The concept and layout emerged just 6 months before opening day.
As we close the show for another day, we thank you for staying with us. Please like, share, and visit our webpage and social media platforms. But tomorrow, join us again on this station for another edition of the magazine. Until then, I'm Carrie Ann Smith. Take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.